She never screamed. She never hit you. She just looked at you a certain way. And somehow that was enough to make you feel like you had done something terribly wrong. You spent your entire childhood walking on eggshells in your own home, apologizing for things you did not do, shrinking yourself so she would not get upset. And you called it love, because she was your mother. But what if it was never love? What if it was control, wrapped so carefully in sacrifice and tears that you could not tell the difference? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will see it clearly. She made you responsible for her emotions. You were 6 years old, and you already knew, just from the sound of her footsteps, whether today was going to be safe. You learned to read her face before you learned to read books. When she was sad, you fixed it. When she was angry, it was your fault. When she cried, you felt guilty, even when you had done absolutely nothing wrong. Psychologists call this emotional parentification. The child becomes the emotional caretaker of the parent, and it destroys something irreplaceable inside, the right to simply exist without managing someone else's pain. The wound does not care about the intention. She may not have known what she was doing, but you felt every single moment of it. She controlled you through guilt. You wanted to go to a friend's house, and instead of simply saying yes or no, she sighed. That long, slow, devastating sigh. Then she said, "Go. I will be fine here, alone." You went. But you felt sick the entire time. You came home early, because her guilt was louder than your happiness. This is manipulation so sophisticated that most people never identify it. No anger, no threats, just a carefully placed sigh, a wounded look, a sentence that always ended with, "But don't worry about me." Narcissistic mothers do not chain their children with iron. They chain them with love, or what feels like love. And guilt is the chain that never rusts. She never apologized. Not once. Think back. Try to remember, just one time, when your mother looked you in the eyes and said, "I was wrong. I am sorry, I hurt you." You cannot remember it, because it never happened. To a narcissistic mother, an apology is an admission of imperfection, and imperfection is something she cannot allow. So instead, she rewrote history. You are too sensitive. That never happened. I sacrificed everything for you, and this is how you repay me. The gaslighting was constant, and over time, you stopped trusting your own memory, your own feelings, yourself. A person who cannot trust her own mind grows into someone who cannot trust herself. In relationships, in decisions, in life, that is not weakness. That is what was done to her. She had a favorite, and it was not you. Maybe you were the scapegoat, the one who could never do anything right, the one blamed when things went wrong. And somewhere in that same house, there was another who could do no wrong. You watched it happen. You told yourself you were imagining it. You were not. Narcissistic mothers divide their children into roles. The golden child reflects her idealized self. The scapegoat carries her shame. And growing up as the scapegoat leaves one specific wound, the belief that you are fundamentally less worthy of love than other people. That wound follows you into every room you enter, every time someone chooses someone else. Even for something small, that part of you inside feels it like a final verdict. Not chosen, not enough, not worthy. Her love always came with conditions. Good grades, she loved you. You embarrassed her. She went cold. You obeyed. She was warm. You had your own opinion. The warmth disappeared instantly. You learned that love is not something you receive. It is something you earn, every single day. And people raised on conditional love grow into adults terrified of being themselves, because being themselves once cost them everything. You are still doing it now, performing, achieving, explaining yourself, trying to earn what should have been given to you freely, from the very first moment you existed. She invaded your privacy and called it love. She read your diary. She told your secrets to relatives. She walked into your room without knocking, and when you said that was wrong, she said, I am your mother. I have the right to know everything. What she was really saying was, you do not have the right to be a separate person from me. Narcissistic mothers experience their children as extensions of themselves. Your boundary was a threat to her control, so she dismantled it and made you feel ashamed for ever wanting one. And now as an adult, you feel guilty for having limits, selfish for saying no, wrong every time you choose yourself. Because the first person who was supposed to teach you that your needs matter taught you the opposite. She never saw you. She only saw what you could do for her. You could have achieved everything, and she would have asked, "But what does this do for me?" You were never a person to her. You were a mirror. When you shone, she shone. When you failed, you embarrassed her. Your pain, your dreams, your tears, always secondary to how things appeared. And the most devastating part, you believed this was normal. You grew up thinking your value was in your usefulness, not in your existence. Now hear this. If you recognized yourself in any of these signs, you are not broken. You are not too sensitive. You are not ungrateful. You are someone who was handed an impossible weight, and you carried it, alone, without anyone telling you what it was or why it was crushing you. The narcissistic mother does not always look like a villain. She looks like a martyr. She cries beautifully. She tells everyone how much she gave, and the world believes her. Because what she did, it happened behind closed doors, in silences, in what she withheld, in what she never once said. But you always knew, even when you had no words for it. Now you do, and knowing is where it ends, and where you begin. You cannot go back and give yourself the mother you deserved, but you can stop carrying her voice in your head as though it is the truth about who you are. You can learn that love is not something you earn. It is something you deserve. By simply existing, you were always enough. She just could not see it. And that was never about you. You are not your mother's story. You never were. If something in this video felt like it was written about your life, share it. Someone in your life is carrying this same weight right now. Silently, they need to hear this too.